for YAHANNA and this heavy hitting crew. Real niggas with an attitude. How about you? I repeat, real niggas with an attitude. How about you? The Chronicles of the King, 69 to the present, hardcore. Now supreme, we ain't never been the best. Like the ghetto was a present, holding everything pleasant in the most high's present. It's silver, they gold is precious. They thought it was effervescent. Get in class, learn your lesson. Out the belly of the beast will increase. At least observe the beast of Yahweh. Eat some lamb, make connections. He's a little sanctuary, no question. We ain't never been crabs in the barrel. This is life under Pharaoh. I'm a lifestyle apparel to walk in the straight narrow. I'm fighting your average battle for the price of a sparrow. Using practical knowledge, not just the narrow. This is ice in the mirror. They cutting us like the grass, keep plugging us out the glass. It blows us out the ass. I tell my people that love them about the criminal justice, about the past. Then we stuff in the ego. These soldiers are evil. Just look at what they done to our people. Covered up the face of the judges with paint on for easel. I be meditating terrorists and deliver my keynote. Y.A.P.K, we got diesel. No cowards forever. We go while you use us nation. We bringing back the Lord's nation. With much long suffering, the campus in concentration. In spite of the correlations, they faggots in formation. They be taking and eat like we got the stage in invasion. We got the streets in a rage. Once the priest hit the pavement, vengeance from the Lord is the white man pavement. The prophets of Yahweh end up in the fucking play with. Some of you gone lukewarm, my niggas stay in y'all complacent. We stay spitting your fire in your faces. Bringing the flock of the slaughter from out of this matrix. The definition of racist is repeating your own top. And as a matter of fact, we got that position. Every pocket should come as a shock. Yasha Allah won't stop when we come back to our power. Who wanna walk with the rubber glide? We keep the summer hot, winter all I.S.U.P.K. You get that spiritual power, ain't gotta buy a pistol. Ripping bodies caught by the crystal. Your arm is struck by a missile. You serve Yahweh, you're invincible. Gotta be one of the 12 tribes of Israel, a nation under God and invisible. Our power is critical from analog to digital. We coming back. Y.A.P.K ain't running, but we running that paying time with that money. Yeah, I put on the dummy hat, thinking it's cool. We're not losing an intergalactic character. Purgatory raised off one of his people. For foolish shit, Y.A.P.K gon' be foolish shit. Yahweh shot is ruling with an iron brother. Only dialogue is kind. I don't want Kanye, you don't like it. You could die a fugitive and vagabond. I'ma have cattle and a catalog of slaves. Tell the nations get in shape. Otherwise we do nuking them. They gonna build Jerusalem. Christians would call it safe. You can call it what you want, but them roads better be gold paid straight out of these OKs. 1,000 years of sneakers and get kind of no shit.
Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Shout out to the brothers. Shalom to the brothers. Yahweh Shem Shabbat. To all the sisters. Yahweh Shemar Lathab Hashem Al-Shai. And priest and officer 50 Shari 1 under commanding General YAHANNA. And we are the I.S.U.P.K, which will start out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. All right. Tonight is Tuesday's night brotherhood class. All right. Brotherhood's a weapon. Brotherhood is everything that these scriptures are about. If you're just tuning in to I.S.U.P.K for the first time, we're reading out of the 1611 King James Bible. And everything that's written in this Bible is about brotherhood. Everything is about how we treat each other, how we treat ourselves. You understand? And following the Most High and obeying Him in everything that we do. All right? So tonight's class is about courage. Tuesday's night brotherhood class is about courage. And if you've been watching what's going on in the news, recently in Canada, a lot of people have been talking about these 215 bodies that were found on the residential school. They were found at a mass graveyard site on a residential school. And so a lot of people for the first time are hearing about residential schools. They don't know much about them. In Canada, they don't teach that history. I'm not sure how it is in the schools today. Maybe they're starting to talk about it a little bit, but it definitely wasn't taught when I was growing up here. And this is something that all Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians need to know about. All right. A lot of brothers in the I.S.U.P.K have been talking about this for years, waking up our people to the truth about the oppression and the slavery going on over in North and South Central America. And we're not going to forget about these things. We're not going to forget all these atrocities that have happened to our people, because right now is a time of war. You understand? When you abduct children from another nation of people, that is an act of war. When you steal women and children, you bring them across the Atlantic Sea and sell them into slavery, rape their women, steal their children. You understand? Murder all our men, women, and children. Create a mass genocide on the Native Indians that were living on this land. Bringing over smallpox and all the mass murder. These people have declared war on us. There's been a war going on for over 400 years. You understand? And this topic is about courage. The courage we need to win this war. The courage we need to get out of this slavery and oppression that we're in. And so that's what tonight's class is about. I got an article I'm going to share. Just a quick video. I'll share my screen. We'll start with the video. I'll read the article, and then we'll jump into some scriptures. All right. Share screen. So this is a video. This is a documentary called We Were Children. And it's just a quick clip about some of the things Salakia. So we'll try that again. So this video, these residential schools, they started around 1880, and they ended in Canada. The last school was in Brantford, Ontario, and that ended in 1996. All right. See if we can do that again. All right, let's play this video.
Is a sad chapter in our history. Two primary objectives of the residential school system were to remove and isolate children and to assimilate them into the dominant culture. The treatment of children in Indian residential schools is a sad chapter.
And just so everybody knows, I.S.U.P.K does not own the rights to this video. This is a video you can find on YouTube that is shared to the public. All right. And this was a documentary. It's titled We Were Children.
The treatment of children in Indian residential schools is a sad chapter in our history. Two primary objectives of the residential school system were to remove and isolate children and to assimilate them into the dominant culture.
All she said to me was to be good and to listen, and she never said any more. I don't think they could even fathom what would happen
They built these schools away from the reserve and run by the churches.
No one was allowed to touch each other or to talk to each other.
99? That's you. You will learn to speak God's language.
I could hear the steps coming towards the girls' infirmary, and I was the only one in there. And then I couldn't breathe.
I don't know what kind of God they have.
When I hear people that firmly believe that nothing happened in these schools, I can tell my story.
And so that's it on that. But just a quick overview. We had our native Indian children, our native Indian brothers. They were taken from their families as kids, right? Some of them, they were held at gunpoint. Their parents were held at gunpoint saying, basically forcefully taking these kids and putting them in what we called, or what they called, residential schools. And the supposed thought was to assimilate the natives into the culture of so-called white Canadians. You understand? And that is a bold-faced lie. What they were doing, they were trying to totally eradicate the culture of the natives. You understand? They were trying to get them to take on another culture, a culture that is destructive for them. You understand? A culture that is promotes every single sin in the Bible. You understand? This is a culture that is has very promiscuous society, a very over-sexualized society. You understand? This is a society that is into all sorts of witchcraft and drug dealing and pleasure and everything that entices a person's flesh. You understand? That is not a culture that the Most High of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians wants us to be living. And so this article I'm going to read this is an article that is titled 10 Terrifying Truths About Residential Schools. All right. This is just to give a little overview of some of the things that went on. All right. So let's get right into it. It reads, with Canada being the first country in the world to adopt multiculturalism as an official policy in 1971, its dark history of cultural genocide against Indigenous people may come as a surprise to some. Funded by the Canadian government and Christian churches, the residential school system was developed to kill the Indian in the child. The last Canadian residential school was shut down as recently as 1996. Below are 10 lesser-known facts regarding the Canadian residential school system and its victims. All right, let me zoom in just a little. And so, like I said earlier, these residential schools weren't about assimilating natives into another culture. This was about, like they said, killing the Indian and the child. This was attempting to get rid of every ounce of culture that they had. All right, and this went on right up until 1996. You understand? They call it Canada's dark history, as if 1996 was a long time ago. You understand? I'm a very young man, but I was a teenager, or damn near a teenager, come 1996. You understand? So this school was still open while I was in grade school. You understand? This is not some history that happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. This was going on while I was a little kid. All right. So this is one of them, and it reads, forced assimilation. Soon after the residential school system was developed, attendance became mandatory for children as young as 4 until they were 18 years old. Students were forced to assimilate into Euro-Canadian culture and were prohibited from practicing their own culture and religion, in attempts to make the Aboriginal children look less like themselves and more like European Canadians. School staff bathed them in toxic chemicals to lighten their skin, cut their long hair short, and compelled them to wear Western uniforms. The binding of girls' breasts was common as well, as it was a method of making them feel ashamed of their maturing bodies. Children were also forced to accept Christianity, with praying being a daily ritual. Furthermore, communication, including during class time, was allowed in only English or French, languages which many of the children did not understand. You understand? And this is something that I pray all Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians understand, is that you got to run far from that Christian church. You got to run very, very far from that Christian church, because this is an example of an evil that is perpetrated by the Christian church. You understand? You could just, that picture of that nun in that video is a perfect picture of who the devil is. You understand? Like, even just looking at them on a video screen or in a documentary or a movie, it's so clear as day who the devil of the Bible is, or who the devil the Bible speaks of is. You understand? That is your European people. You understand? Every European, so-called European today, is a descendant of Esau. You understand? Their biblical nation, or their nationality in the Bible, they are the Edomites the Bible speaks of. They descend from a man named Esau. And they are the wicked of the earth. You understand? They were the wicked of the earth 4,000 years ago, and they are the wicked of the earth today. All right. So number 9 reads, separation from family. Since all Aboriginal children's attendance was mandatory, the children were often forcibly taken from their homes. Parents who tried to resist were beaten and arrested. Other parents who gave permission for their children to be taken away were deliberately given false information about the purpose of the residential school and the standard of living at the schools. If siblings were lucky enough to be sent to the same school, they were still separated due to the gender segregation that existed at all schools. Most of the time, students were prohibited from visiting their families at all until they were 18. This included holidays and even the funerals of loved ones. The children had to write letters home in languages that were foreign to their parents, and any gifts or letters their parents sent back were withheld from them by the priests and nuns that ran the school. Number 8, poor quality of life. The quality of life offered at these schools was terrible. The majority of students that day was spent running the school by cooking and cleaning, because the residential school system was so underfunded that proper care would not be afforded. The schools were overcrowded and in need of repairs. This made the working conditions unsafe. The students were underfed and malnourished, as well as deprived of medical care and improperly clothed during the winter months. That's disgusting. It's mad. It's crazy to think that people could actually do this to children. You understand? Some of these children were as young as 4 years old. You understand? Like you gotta have some twisted kind of mind, some twisted kind of heart to be able to stomach to do some of these things. You understand? I couldn't imagine holding a gun to somebody's head and taking their kids from them. Especially to do it for such a stupid reason. You understand? These people are the wicked of the earth. All right? And something to keep in mind too is that the people that were holding guns to people's heads, that was the RCMP. You understand? The RCMP is still around today, terrorizing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? Let's go to number 7. It says, subjection to nutrition experiments. Slakia, subjection to nutritional experiments. Sometimes malnourished children were subjected to nutritional experiments with the federal government's knowledge and, of course, without their parents' consent. Children that were already undernourished were starved and used as guinea pigs in experiments that have reportedly not resulted in any significant findings. That's some sick stuff to do to some of these kids. And Salakia, I'm going to pull out a quick verse, because just on this topic of kids, the Most High is all about justice. You understand? The Most High will reward evil with evil. You understand? And this oppressor, these wicked devils that are ruling the earth today, the Most High is going to reward them with evil. You understand? In the world, you might call that the law of karma. You understand? Karma exists in the Bible. What goes around comes around. You understand? So this is the book of Psalms. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 137 and verse 9, and it reads, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. You understand? That might be something hard to stomach for some people. That there's going to be a day that comes when people like me are going to be happy about dashing little babies against the stones. You understand? I'm going to take pleasure in that. I'm going to take joy in that for what these devils did to our people, to my brothers and sisters. You understand? And to any righteous man of the Lord, any righteous man of God, all the men in the I.S.U.P.K. under commanding General YAHANNA, that is going to be a glorious day for us because of the crimes that these people have done to us. You understand? This is a time of war. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Number 6, it says cruel punishments. Again, this is the kids. Some of them as young as the age of 4. It says punishment at the schools were cruel and incredibly unreasonable. For examples, children's tongues were repeatedly pierced with needles as a punishment for speaking a language other than English or French. Other common punishments included electrical shock, confinement in cages, burning of hands, public strip searches, and force feeding of students' own vomit when they were sick. That's disgusting. Number 5, sexual abuse. Sexual abuse was common at residential schools. Both girls and boys were raped, not only by the priests and other staff running the schools, but also by older schoolmates. Girls that became pregnant were forced to undergo abortions. In fact, children who were sexually abused were even forced to pray for the guidance and forgiveness of their abusers. I don't even have much words to say on that. You understand? I don't understand how somebody could be that evil. You understand? Like trying to be creative enough to come up with punishments for my kids is enough. You understand? But the types of things these evil people think up, and this is why it says in, I think it's Deuteronomy 6:4, that these laws, statutes, and commandments would be our wisdom in sight of the nations. You understand? It is not allowed to rape a woman. You are not allowed to rape a woman. You understand? That is something that goes against the Most High. And it's such a twisted thing for this devil to take a Bible and do all these acts in the name of God. You understand? This is one of the reasons Native Indians are so skeptical of the Bible. This is one of the reasons our Native Indian and brothers and sisters, you understand, they'll run at the sight of a Bible. You understand? It's because of evil shit like this. Salakia for my language. Just using that for teaching purposes. But this Bible says rape is not allowed. You understand? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, he does not stand for the rape of another person, especially a little kid. You understand? These girls were becoming pregnant by these priests. You understand? And this went on right up until 1996. This is a time for war. This is a time of war. And this is why if you're Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, it is so important for you to join the ranks under Commanding General YAHANNA in the I.S.U.P.K. You understand? We are building the Lord's army. We are preparing ourselves for war. We are blowing the trumpet, sounding the alarm, letting our people know that there is a danger here. And we need to protect our women, our children, and our kids. Salakia. Our brethren, our wives, and our kids. Matter of fact, let's grab that verse. Let's jump to the book of, I think it's Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 4 and verse 14. And it reads, "And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of thy people, be not ye afraid of them." You understand? Don't be afraid of these devils. We don't got to be afraid of these devils or any of these nations on the earth. Understand? We don't got to be afraid of the Japanese or the Chinese or the Arabians. You understand? You especially don't have to be afraid of this so-called white man. You understand? It says, "Be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible." You understand? We got to remember the power that we serve. You understand? The power of this Bible led us or freed us from the Egyptians, led us out of the captivity from under the Egyptians. You understand? The God of this Bible, the God of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, he fought for us. He fought with us. You understand? And he defeated any enemy that would come against us, so long as we obeyed him. You understand? And that's what we got to do today. And it reads, "And fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters and your wives and your houses." Understand? This is a time for war. This is a time of war. When somebody is abducting your children, understand, they're declaring war. They declared war back from 1492 when they first came over to this country. You understand? Salakia, one moment. Salakia. All right, let's keep reading. Number 4, and it reads, "Frequent student deaths." Student deaths were so common at these schools that many of their architectural plans included graveyards. You understand? Imagine going to school that has a graveyard. Imagine growing up, being in a school, and you can see the graveyard of other kids. You understand? Other kids that you've been to school with, or other kids that were at the school before you got there. You understand? A lot of our mothers don't want to teach our kids about death. You understand? They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to show it to their kids because they don't feel that they're ready to talk about things like that. Right? Trying to protect their babies. You understand? For some of the harder things to deal with in life. And these schools straight up had graveyards. Imagine that. Right? And it says, death rates at schools range from 30 to 60% within the first 5 years. You understand? Meaning when these kids were taken and brought to these residential schools, there was a good chance that they were going to die within the first 5 years of being there. And these percentages are only reflective of reported deaths. Since the government stopped recording student deaths after a certain point, the true percentages are most likely significantly greater. You understand? Meaning they don't know how many kids actually died at these schools. You understand? Somebody came and held a gun to your head and took your kids and brought them to these residential schools, more than likely they were going to die. You understand? And some of these parents, because they didn't want to fight, you understand? They didn't want to go through all the troubles of fighting the government, fighting these police, fighting these people stealing their kids, feeling helpless. You understand? They just sent their kids to residential schools. And that is a place they went to die. You understand? And it reads, the most common cause of death was tuberculosis, an infectious disease that students were susceptible to due to the lack of segregation of sick students, as well as the deprivation of medical attention. Other causes of death included suicides, freezing after attempting to run away, and accidents that resulted from the unsafe working conditions children were exposed to. That's madness, man. Right up until 1996. This is a time of war. Understand? This is a time for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to gather together. Gather together. O nation not desired. Blacks, Hispanics are a nation that is undesired. You understand? Everybody looks at us like we're on the bottom, like we're nothing, like we're filthy. You understand? We have to gather ourselves together. Blacks and browns have to unite. You understand? All of us are brothers and sisters. All of us are family. And we got to come together and serve our King Christ. You understand? Not like what these nuns and priests, you understand, and all these devils taught about the Bible and twisted the Bible and lied on the Bible. You understand? Trying to oppress us with Christianity. Not trying to, but oppressing us with Christianity. You understand? But we have to gather together, come out of that, you understand, and fight for our brothers and sisters. Fight for our kids. Fight for our houses. You understand? We shouldn't be joining this white man's military, fighting for his causes. Fighting for all the lust and greed and land and war and money and whatever he's chasing. We got to join our own army. All right. Number 3 reads, occasional resistance by students. Sometimes students would attempt to resist the harsh conditions they were forced to live with. Common acts of disobedience included stealing food and running away. Students who opted to run away almost never survived, much less returned home. There are even reports of students burning down their schools. And I hope when they burnt those schools down, I pray those devils died with it. I pray those devils burnt down with those schools. You understand? That's only fair. That's only just. Right? Number 2 reads, failure to provide adequate education or training. Children in residential school systems were treated more like child laborers than students. Typically, students only spend 2 to 4 hours a day in the classroom, and the rest of their day was spent working. By the time they were 18, most students had only reached grade 5. With such little education and learning of valuable skills, Aboriginal graduates were unable to compete with Euro-Canadians in the workplace and had trouble finding any jobs. And the last one is cycles of family abuse over generations. Once the students of the schools turned 18, they were released and allowed to return to their families. However, those returning home were often unable to communicate with their families and could not identify with either the indigenous or Euro-Canadian culture. The depression of the everlasting feeling of isolation, as well as the fact that the children were raised without love or care in these schools, resulted in a vicious cycle of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, as survivors were and still are unable to love and care for their own children. Right? And we'll stop there. You understand? Those are some of the evil things that went on in those residential schools. Right? Salaki, we'll do a quick shout out to the chat. Shalom, Trooper Sakad, Yahba Shem Yashai Brakatha, the water for tuning in. Shalom, Kawapa. Shalom, sis, Yahweh Shema Alatha Bashim Yahweh, the water for tuning in. All right. And the topic today is about courage. You understand? You'll hear it a lot. You cannot be a coward and be in this school. You understand? You cannot be afraid. You cannot be fearful and be in this school. You can't be afraid and serve the Most High. You understand? Being afraid is just as bad as being a homosexual. You understand? It's not something that we can do. You understand? Especially during a time of war. Right? What these evil people did to our native Indian brothers and sisters, understand? This is a time of war. And we need brothers and sisters who are courageous. Understand? We need brothers and sisters who are ready to fight, who are ready to defend the fatherless, ready to defend our sisters and our children. You understand? And so let's jump right into some scripture. All right. We're going to start off in the book of First Maccabees. Well, First Maccabees in the Apocrypha in chapter 3. First Maccabees chapter 3, and we'll start at verse 17. All right. And it reads, who when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas. Now, Judas Maccabeus was a leader at this time. You understand? And someone asked him, how are we going to win against these people? All right. We keep reading, and it says, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude, and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? All right. This brother was asking Judas Maccabeus, you understand, how are we going to win this war against our enemy? You understand? These brothers that came up to him and asked these questions, they were weak. Understand? They were afraid. They weren't sure how an army that was so big, so great a multitude, you understand, how their brothers and sisters were going to win this battle. Understand? How these men were going to win this war. And verse 18 says, unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few. You understand? Judas was calm and collected. He wasn't worried about this great multitude. You understand? Judas Maccabeus, he had courage. He wasn't worried about this great multitude. And it says, and with the God of heaven, it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. You understand? Not only did this brother have courage, he said, it's not a hard matter to put these men down. You understand? Judas Maccabeus said, it's not a big deal. You understand? He said, with the Most High, it's nothing. It's easy. Right? If you look at what's going on today, the Most High sent these plagues. The Most High sent coronavirus. The Most High sent COVID-19. You understand? It's such an easy thing for the Most High to destroy a nation. Right? Hey, shalom, sister Sarah, daughter of Zion, Yahweh Shema Thaba Shem Yahshai. The water for tuning in, sis. You understand? Judas Maccabeus said it's a small thing with the Most High. You understand? Not even a small thing. It's nothing. The Most High is so much bigger than this. You understand? He'll send plagues and pestilence to destroy a nation. You understand? It's not something hard for him to do. Right? Verse 19. And for anybody just tuning in, we're in 1 Maccabees chapter 3. 1 Maccabees chapter 3. 1 Maccabees 3 and verse 18. Salakia. So we're in 1 Maccabees chapter 3. We're at verse 19. And it reads, For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven. You understand? How do blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians get justice in this place? How can we win against this oppressor? You understand? We win by COVID-19. We win with all these plagues and famine and pain. You understand? Our strength comes from heaven. That's how few of us come against a great multitude of people. You understand? This coronavirus is a great thing for us. Brothers at home are getting paid, doing things they were never able to do because of this oppression. You understand? I've had the opportunity to spend a lot more time at home, be around my kids, be around my family. You understand? Study this word, become a better man, become a better husband. It's giving me time to do things I don't normally get to do. Right? And so we're in verse 20, and it reads, They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us. You understand? When the RCMP went and held guns at those native fathers and mothers, those native Indian fathers and mothers, they did that with great pride. You understand? They did that with much iniquity. Meaning those people were evil. You understand? And they didn't think anybody would bring them down. They didn't think anybody could bring them down. Like they were unstoppable and touchable. You understand? They must have felt so good abducting somebody's children and bringing them to some residential school where they go on to sexually abuse, rape, murder. You understand? Beat a culture out of them. They must have been so prideful doing those things. You understand? But when you get into these scriptures, you understand that their time is coming. You understand? Their time is coming. And it is a small thing for the Most High Power to destroy this nation, to destroy these people that are over us. Right? Verse 20 says, and our wives and children, and to spoil us. Right? These police, the government, your supervisor, your taskmasters, they come against us with pride. You understand? And a whole bunch of sin. They come with homosexuality. They come with cigarettes and blunt wraps. And their plan is to destroy us. Right? And verse 21 says, but we fight for our lives and our laws. And this is what Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians got to gather together and do. Understand? We fight for our lives. We fight for our laws. You understand? We keep these laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. We will be delivered out of here. Right? Salaki, one second. Hey. So, understand? So, verse 21 says, but we fight for our lives and our laws. You understand? This is the purpose of life. We got to fight for this. The Most High fights for this. And we got to encourage our weaker brothers to get strong. You understand? These brothers that are around us, they can draw strength from being around stronger brothers. You understand? They can gain courage. Just like they did from Judas Maccabeus. Right? After Judas Maccabeus spoke and said that this is a small thing for the Most High. And those brothers saw his courage, and those brothers saw his strength. You can be for damn sure that they gained strength from that. Right? Verse 22 says, wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. You understand? He says, the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. You understand? We see the Most High overthrowing them right in front of us today. Right? Look at how many look at how many devils died in Italy over the COVID-19. You understand? For all the cocaine they put in our community, understand? All the sexual abuse, all the women that they've abducted, you understand? All the evil things they've done to us, they are going to die. They are going to be punished in front of our face. Right? And it says, and as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Understand? Don't be afraid of these devils. For those 215 buried Gadites found in those residential schools, for all the tens of thousands of Gadite bodies we don't know about, for all the cop killings, all the drugs poured in our communities, all the lynchings, you understand, all the hard labor, it's going to be a beautiful thing to watch the Most High destroy them right in front of us. Right? And so we don't got to be afraid. We just got to get the Most High to fight for us. Right? Let's jump to Exodus chapter 14. Exodus chapter 14. And what do I want? Exodus chapter 14. Exodus 14 and verse 14. And it reads, the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Understand? Coronavirus, COVID-19, The Lord is fighting for us. He's doing it right now. Understand? We don't need anything else. Understand? The Most High is fighting for Eric Gardner. He's fighting for Tamir Rice. He's fighting for Trayvon Martin and all the brothers and sisters that didn't make the news. You understand? We don't need picket signs and marching and singing and dancing. Understand? Brothers and sisters got to get in the I.S.U.P.K. Brothers and sisters got to come to class. Learn how to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Learn how to be good brothers and sisters to each other. You understand? To gather together and dwell in unity with brothers and sisters. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 6. Deuteronomy 31 and verse 6. Salakia. So Deuteronomy 31 and verse 6 says, "Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them." You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we need to be strong and full of courage. You understand? Not to be scared and full of anxiety. You understand? And it's a natural thing for us to be strong. You understand? That's how the Most High made us. He gave us a strong spirit. He gave us a spirit of courage. You understand? He created us to be holy, separate, set apart. You understand? We don't need to be afraid of people or things going on around us. Okay? And it says, "He it is that doeth go with thee. He will not fail thee nor forsake thee." Understand? The Most High is not going to forsake us. The Most High is not going to forget us. He's always going to be with us. Why? Because we trust in him. Understand? When we trust in the Most High, we're going to have courage. We're going to have strength. All right? Let's jump to 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. 2 Timothy 1 and verse 7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear." You understand? God didn't give us a spirit to be weak. He didn't give us a spirit to be docile, to be scared of anything. We know this because God says so. You understand? He says he did not give us a spirit of fear. Right? And it says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power." You understand? And we can't have power if we're fearful. We can't be afraid. We can't be cowards and have power. You understand? Brothers can't rule our households if we're scared of our woman. You understand? We can't have rulership if we're scared of everything. We have to have courage. You understand? We're going to win this war. We need courage, because courage brings power. You understand? We can't rule and lead and conquer and be scared. You understand? You can't do those things at the same time. It's one or the other. You can't be afraid and be courageous. You can't be afraid and have power. You understand? It's one or the other. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we are not allowed to be cowards. We're not allowed to be afraid. You understand? We got to face our fears, overcome our fears, gain strength from stronger brothers and sisters. Right? And the spirit of love. Understand? Love is following the law, statutes, and commandments. And this is how we get to the Most High. Understand? This is how we get the Most High to fight for us. He gives us the spirit of love. That spirit is to be obedient to Him, to obey Him no matter what. Understand? Our brothers, I think it's in Maccabees, 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 7. You understand? Or 1 Maccabees chapter 7. We had brothers and sisters die honorably. Understand? They had great courage. They had great strength. Understand? They refused to eat pork. They refused to eat pork right up till their death. You understand? Some of those brothers had body parts chopped off. Some of those brothers had to watch their body parts being cooked. And they still refused to eat that pork. They chose to obey the Most High until death. And that's the courage and the strength that we need. You understand? And that's a great reason to read these stories in the Bible. To gain strength from these brothers. To gain strength from these sisters. To gain strength from courageous men who had to overcome different obstacles in life. You understand? These are great men and women that we read about in the Bible. Right? Paul said to consider the ways of old. You understand? Ask your fathers, inquire of them. Ask them about our culture. Ask them about the things that we were supposed to be doing. Ask them how we went to war. Ask them how we treated our women, how we raised our kids. You understand? You can read about what your forefathers did and foremothers did from the book of Genesis right till the book of Revelation. You understand? These are stories of our people that had great courage and great strength. Right? And we're in verse 7. This is 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7, and it says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." You understand? That sound mind, we're not supposed to be all over the place. We're supposed to be thinking straight. You understand? We're supposed to be making wise decisions. You understand? Seeking counsel from wise men of understanding, from knowledgeable men of the Lord who can help us make decisions in life. Right? Verse 8 says, "Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner. Understand? We should be a prisoner of the Most High God. When you're a prisoner, you do what the guards say. When you're a prisoner today in jail, you do what the warden says. You understand? You eat when he says eat. You go to bed when he says to go to bed. You shower when he says to shower. You clean what he tells you to clean. That's a prisoner. And we're supposed to be prisoners of the Most High Power. A prisoner to Yahweh. You understand? That's how we should be with the Most High. And we should do that because he fights for us. You understand? And it reads, "But be thou partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of God." You understand? Be a partaker, meaning be involved in these scriptures. Be involved in this work of the Most High. You understand? You get involved, you come to class, you do what Yahweh Shai said to do. You understand? This is how it will eliminate fear. This will help you to become courageous. Understand? To be a powerful man of the Lord. You understand? Let's jump to 1 Corinthians 16. So we're in 1 Corinthians 16. First Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 13. And it says, "Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, be strong." You understand? Stand strong in the faith, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian men. You understand? Faith is an action. Faith isn't just sitting in a corner saying a prayer to Jesus. You know what I mean? Wishing that something better is going to happen or something's going to change. Understand? Faith requires you to do something. You understand? Father Abraham, because of faith, you understand? He was ready to sacrifice his son. You understand? He was willing to do something. You understand? And that faith was accounted to him for righteousness. Faith is an action. And it says, stand fast in the faith. You understand? Meaning, we got to keep being obedient to the Most High. Right? We got to keep doing what the Most High says to do. Being brotherly, being sisterly. Forgiving each other 70 times 7. You understand? Not even counting the amount of times a brother or sister does something to you. You understand? We prove we're disciples of Christ by loving our brothers, by loving our sisters. These are the kinds of things that we have to do. These are the things that we have to stand fast in. Right? And it says, quit you like men. Be strong. Understand? In the UPK, we don't quit. The ISUPK, we're above average. We're strong. We don't give up on the Most High. You understand? Because this is what we're required to do. You understand? We do this for our brothers and sisters, for all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Right? Verse 14 says, let all your things be done with charity. Understand? We got to do this with charity for one another. We should be showing love to our brothers and sisters, looking out for one another. So, let me check that word. That word charity. Salakia. 1 Corinthians 16 and verse 14. It says, let all your things be done with charity. That word charity is agape in the Greek. Right? You may have heard a Christian pastor talk about agape love. You understand? This is a word for love in the Greek. Agape. You understand? To show brotherly love, affection, goodwill. Right? This isn't some homosexual type of love. This isn't something that you just feel. Understand? This is a job. This is a duty. Right? Let all your things be done with charity. It's your duty. It's your job to love your brother and your sister. This is what the Most High requires of us. Right? Let's jump to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 1. And it reads, the wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Understand? People have been going crazy over the COVID virus. Every time I go to look on CBC or some Canadian news website or news channel, everybody's talking about COVID. COVID, COVID, COVID. Every day it's a top story. Understand? It's on the front page of every newspaper. And every wicked person in this kingdom is fleeing. Every wicked person that's living in Canada is afraid of the COVID-19. Everybody's afraid of catching it. Everybody's afraid of what it's going to do to them. And they flee, they run because they are wicked. Right? But the righteous are bold as a lion. Understand? This is what the righteous do. The men in the I.S.U.P.K, we're lions. We're bold as lions. We're not afraid of the COVID-19. We're not afraid of catching it. We're not afraid of social distancing. You understand? We're not afraid of handing out flyers and waking brothers and sisters up. We're not afraid of doing the work of the Most High. We're lions. You understand? Every single school in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA in every single zone is open. We're available 7 days a week. You understand? And you can tell who the righteous are by their actions. You look at the Christian church today, the Christian church is closed. You understand? I got family members who haven't been to church in over a year. You understand? Those are wicked people. They flee. They're afraid. You understand? But not us in the I.S.U.P.K. You understand? We're not afraid. We don't fear. We're lions. You understand? Let's jump to First Chronicles chapter 28. 28 and verse 20. First Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 20. And it reads, "And David said to Solomon, his son," so this is David speaking to his son Solomon. And he says, "Be strong and of a good courage." Understand? David is giving an order to his son. David is commanding his son Solomon to do something. You understand? This Bible is all about order and structure. This Bible is all about war. Yahweh is a man of war. This book is a book of militancy, discipline, structure. And David is ordering his son to be strong and of a good courage. You understand? We should be telling brothers and sisters, be strong and of a good courage. That's good brotherhood. That's good sisterhood. You understand? And we do this because there's a war going on. There's a war going on, and we need to win this battle. We need to be courageous. We need to be strong. Right? And it reads, "Be strong and of a good courage, and do it." You understand? Not maybe do it. Not you can be strong and courageous if you want to. You understand? Not be strong and courageous if you feel like it. Not be strong and courageous if you're 7 foot tall. You understand? And strong and built. You understand? Be strong and do it. That's to all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And it reads, "Fear not, nor be dismayed." You understand? Fear not, nor be dismayed. Because when you're strong and of good courage, you understand, you're not going to be afraid and anxious. You're not going to be worried about what's going on around you. And this is why it's so important not to do things in the dark. Understand? Not to do things in darkness and think that it's not going to come to light. You understand? You can't be doing things in the dark and think you're going to have great courage. You understand? If you're not living right, if you're being wicked, if you're in darkness, everyone's going to know it because you're hiding. You understand? The wicked flee. You understand? You'll be able to tell when somebody's in great darkness. They'll be afraid of leaving their house. They'll be afraid of what COVID-19 is going to do to them. You understand? But if you're keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments, you don't need to be afraid, nor be dismayed. Understand? Another word for dismayed is to be confused. Understand? You don't need to be worried about what's going on around you. And it reads, For the Lord God, even my God, will be with thee. You understand? You want the Most High to be with you? You got to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? And it reads, He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee, until thou hast finished all the work for the service of the house of the Lord. You understand? The Most High isn't going to fail us. The question that we have to ask ourselves is that, are we going to fail him? Right? This is something that we can't afford to do. You understand? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we cannot fail the Most High. And we won't fail the Most High if we stand fast in the faith. Understand? Love our brother, love our sisters, and hate our enemies. You understand? We got to understand that there is an enemy that is oppressing us. There is an enemy that is at war with us. And it is a righteous thing to hate those evil bastards. It is a righteous thing to hate those European men and women. That is a righteous thing in the Most High's eyes. You understand? And we got to be courageous when we go to war with them. Right? Let's jump to the book of Psalms, chapter 31. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 31. We'll jump to Psalms 31 and verse 24. And it reads, Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord. Understand? Your heart is your mind. Right? And he's saying, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your mind. And when he strengthens your mind, your actions will follow that. Understand? We got to obey the Most High. Love our brothers. Love our sisters. And he will strengthen us. Right? Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your mind. All ye that hope in the Lord. Understand? And all of us have to have faith. All of us that look to the Most High to fight for us, and that faith shows in our actions. You understand? And being of good courage doesn't mean to be stupid. You understand? It doesn't mean to jump into a pit of snakes. Doesn't mean to drink bleach, to smoke a cigarette and think you're going to be okay. You understand? Being of good courage isn't just going out and doing anything that you want to do or anything you don't want to do. You understand? But being of good courage does mean the Most High will fight for us. Right? Let's jump to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 35. And it says, To me belongeth vengeance. Understand? This is the Most High talking. We should rejoice during the time of vengeance for everything these devils have done to us. You understand? The Most High has the vengeance, and he's going to do the job better than any black man, Hispanic man, or Native Indian man. Understand? He says, to me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Recompense is repayment. You understand? What goes around comes around. You understand? You rape those little girls on those residential schools. You understand? Maybe somebody is going to come and rape your children. You understand? That is repayment. Rewarding evil for evil. And it reads, their foot shall slide in due time. Right? They're going to lose their footing. You understand? Your footing is your foundation. If you've ever watched a boxing match, you ever see a boxer lose his legs or his legs get weak? You understand? That's the end of the fight. That boxer's going down. And that's what's going to happen to these devils. They're going to lose their footing. You understand? They'll lose their footing in due time. And it reads, for the day of their calamity is at hand. You understand? Our enemies, they're going to be overthrown in our face. And their calamity is here. You understand? We don't need to be afraid. Their calamity is at hand. It's coming, and it's coming fast. All right? Let's jump to the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 41. Isaiah 41 and verse 10, and it reads, fear thou not. Don't be afraid. Don't be a coward. You understand? Fear thou not, for I am with thee. The Most High is with us. You understand? We keep these laws, statutes, and commandments and be brotherly and sisterly to each other. The Most High will be with us. Understand? He says, be not dismayed. Don't be confused. For I am thy God. You understand? Yahweh is our power. He is the Most High power. He is our power. You understand? The power of Israel. Yasharallah in the Hebrew. And it reads, I will strengthen thee. You understand? We fear the Most High and we obey him. He will strengthen us. And we got to understand, Israel needs strengthening today. A lot of our Gadite brothers and sisters are walking around with their heads down on these reserves. You understand? Feeling so defeated. You understand? But we don't need to feel defeated. We can hold our heads up high. You understand? We just need the Most High's help. Right? He says, I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Right? Israel's got to look around at what's going on with our people. And we got to be strengthened by the Most High. Get help from the Most High. You understand? These devils, they don't need salvation. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are so worried about telling everybody God loves everybody. Teaching them that Jesus came for everybody. You understand? These devils don't need help. Their children weren't forced on these residential schools. You understand? They don't need help. They don't need salvation. They're in their kingdom. You understand? Let's jump to 1 Peter chapter 5. 1 Peter 5, and we'll start at verse 7. And it reads, casting all your care upon him. Cast all your cares upon the Most High. Understand? This is what we're supposed to do. Understand? Your care means your worries. You understand? To think about it, to figure it out. You don't need to do those things, but just cast it to the Most High. You understand? When we cast it to the Most High will take care of us. It reads, for he careth for you. You cast your worries to the Most High, he will take care of you because he cares about you. The Most High loves the nation of Israel. Understand? He chose us to be his children, his beloved, his firstborn. He cares about us. He loves blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand? All those graveyards on those residential schools, he loves every single one of those kids. And he's going to fight for us. All right, let's jump to 1 Corinthians chapter 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10. And it reads, now I beseech you, brethren. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahawashi HaMashiach. You understand? Beseech means to urgently seek out. Urgently, or to beg. You understand? I beseech you, brethren, I beg you, brethren, that ye all speak the same thing. You understand? This is Paul saying, I beg you, brothers, speak the same thing, that we're all on one accord. We should all be saying, Italy deserves the coronavirus. France deserves COVID-19. That the British get COVID-19. Understand? All of us should be praying for the Most High's will to be done, because the Most High fights for us. You understand? And if we get the virus, so be it. Be of good courage. You understand? He says that there be no division among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together. You understand? What does it mean to be perfectly joined together? Being perfect according to God is keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Doing everything that he says. Doing everything that Christ said. Christ was perfect. You understand? And if you follow Christ and do what he did, you will be perfect. That's what Christ requires of us. To be perfectly joined together is keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And these laws, statutes, and commandments are all about being brotherly and sisterly to each other. You understand? I'm not going to steal from a brother. I'm not going to sleep with another man's wife. I'm not going to throw a sister away. You understand? I'm going to protect her. That's being perfectly joined together. Understand? This whole law is built on brotherhood. Everything about the law is built off how we treat each other. You understand? Perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. You understand? We got to do this for all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Let's jump to the book of 2 Samuel. What is that? 2 Samuel chapter 23 and verse 30. And it says, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. This is what brothers got to be. Brothers got to be courageous. Understand? Brothers got to stand up and be willing to defend their brothers and sisters. You understand? Just like this brother here, he slew 2 lion-like men, 2 warriors. You understand? 2 beasts, 2 grizzly-like men, men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the pits of Salakia. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in the time of snow. Understand? That's the type of courage that we need to have. Understand? We got to be willing to go to war. We got to be willing to fight for brothers and sisters no matter what's going on. You understand? This is the type of courage that we need to overcome these devils, to overcome oppression, to overcome this slavery. You understand? We cannot be afraid. Let's grab slack here. Just looking for one verse. I think it's in Ephesians. Revelations chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21 and verse 8. Revelations 21 verse 8, and it reads, but the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars. Understand? The fearful is put in a category of homosexuals. Understand? Of whoremongers, of liars, of drug dealers, drug abusers. Understand? We are not allowed to be afraid. Understand? It is an abominable thing in the Most High's eyes. We have to be of good courage. We have to be strong, powerful, men of might. You understand? We are not allowed to be fearful. You cannot be in the I.S.U.P.K and be a coward. You understand? Because being fearful shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone. Meaning you will be put to death for this thing. You can be put to death for being fearful. You understand? That is not a good thing to be doing in the Most High's eyes. You understand? And we can draw courage from our brothers and sisters. You understand? So with that, tonight was Tuesday's night brotherhood class. Those are some scriptures on being courageous, being of good cheer, being courageous, being strong, powerful. You understand? This is what we got to do as brothers and sisters to get out of this oppression and out of this slavery. You understand? So with that, we're going to end the class. Let's clap it up. We're going to do the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer, and then we'll salute out. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers, you can find it in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashra means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests. It's not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give, please give. Upcoming holy convocations. We got the Feast of First Fruits coming up. Feast of First Fruits is on June 21st. If you're a brother and sister who's in Canada, you can contact Officer of 500 Zabadia to get more information on that. Or you can contact your camp leader. For Canada, that's Officer of 5,000 Aban. And with that, men of Israel, Majum, which means stand, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer. Sarpan Yahakudam, which means turn and face the east. Abanawa, Shabashamayam, Kodash, I.S.U.P.K, Yahweh, Malakwatha, Thaba'ah, Ratazaka, Ayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawar, Ayah, Bashamayam, Nathan Lanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalak Lanawa, Kawabath Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kawabath Yanawa, Wala'ah, Thabayan Nawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wahala, Wahatha Para, Lai Walamim, Aman. In English, what we just read, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever so be it. Sar, which means turn. I'm going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers, men of Israel. Imajim Shabbat. Imajim. Barak. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahashai Barakatham. To all the brothers. Yad Yamatah. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters, men of Israel. Imajim Shabbat. Imajim. Barak. Yahweh Shamar Alatha Ba'Shem Yahashai. To all the sisters. Yad Yamatah. The water for tuning in. Class dismissed.